In our neighborhood, there was a rather stern old lady known as Granny Dearly. Despite her nickname, she wasn't exactly known for her warm and affectionate nature. She lived alone in a time-worn house. Every day, Granny Dearly would venture out to the front gate, leading to the road that meandered to the beach, to place her trash bin for the garbage collectors. Her presence was a familiar sight, although not a particularly welcoming one. Her demeanor was curt, and her reclusive nature kept her apart from the typical, friendly old ladies one might expect. Granny Dearly had 5 sons, each leading prosperous lives in various fields. One was a renowned TV presenter, 2 were successful businessmen, and the youngest had a career in professional sports. Despite her sons' success and lavish lifestyles, none of them could bear to stay with Granny Dearly for long. It wasn't for lack of trying on their part, but her irritable disposition and reluctance to part with her house created tensions with their wives, and none were willing to endure her company for extended periods. This led Granny Dearly to live a lonely, desolate life. Her morning ritual of taking out the trash was the only time she emerged from her home, and the rest of the day she remained hidden from the world. However, one fateful day, something changed. Granny Dearly didn't appear to place her trash outside. 2 days passed, then a few more, but still she didn't make her usual appearance. It was only when a putrid, decaying stench began to seep from her house that the neighbors next door grew concerned. They reached out to her, but there was no response. Calls to her sons went unanswered as they failed to grasp the urgency of the situation. Frustrated and left with no choice, the neighbors contacted the local authorities. With the help of the police, they decided to break into Granny Dearly's home. As they entered, a wave of overpowering odor, synonymous with decaying flesh, hit them. The bravest among them ventured further into the house. They found Granny Dearly's lifeless body, seated on the living room couch. Her once grand house had deteriorated into a decrepit state, draped in cobwebs that almost touched the floor. Granny Dearly's corpse had deteriorated significantly, her eyes long gone, likely consumed by vermin, her body bloated, with maggots feeding on her flesh. It was a grotesque and horrifying sight. Her sons were notified, and the money they contributed was used to dispose of her body, but there was no proper burial or final rites to lay her soul to rest. It was a tragic end for a woman neglected by her own family, both in life and death. About a month later, her sons began to dispute the rights to her house. Their focus was on the property rather than their late mother, echoing the same disregard they had shown when she was alive. Finally, they decided to sell the property and split the proceeds evenly among themselves. Real estate agents, eager to close the deal, encountered a problem when reports from neighboring houses emerged. Residents claimed they could hear moans, screams, and bone-chilling noises emanating from the abandoned house. Some even insisted they had spotted Granny Dearly walking through the neglected garden. The youngest son, exhausted by the stories, attempted to demolish the house and sell the land, but inexplicable events occurred each time he brought a demolition crew. Workers claimed they saw Granny Dearly inside the house, felt shadowy entities pushing them, or mysteriously lost their balance, even when secured with safety harnesses. Ultimately, the youngest son couldn't find a crew willing to work on the house. A few years later, the house's foundation crumbled, and the roof collapsed. Some of Granny Dearly's sons attempted to restore the house to its previous state, but each time they repaired the roof and reinforced the foundation, it would collapse again within a week, baffling everyone involved in the construction. Today, the abandoned house stands with its roof caved in, obscured by overgrown bushes and trees that were once part of its charming garden. Neighbors still claim to hear Granny Dearly moving about the house, her presence lingering like an enduring mystery.